So we just completed a SimCity one-on-one in which we were talking about building density and land value and how they may seem like they're the same thing, but there are some important differences between the two. That is the perfect lead-in to another subject in which you would think that they're the same thing, and that is education and tech level. And they may seem like the same thing, but these two items also have some important differences, and I want to spend some time just going through education, tech level, what they are, the benefits that they have for your city, and that way you can work with these two subjects and get the most out of them and help your city. When we talk about education, it is important to keep in mind that the simulation and the way this game was designed, it rewards education to an extremely high level. If you look at the info panel, educated Sims do not create as much garbage. Educated Sims do not start as many fires. Educated Sims do not get sick as often. Educated Sims do not commit as many crimes. Educated Sims do not use as much water. And educated Sims do not use as much electricity. In fact, if you look at an educated household, you will see that solar panels show up. So if you think about it, that can have huge ramifications for your city, wherein you're not having to pay for a lot of fire coverage, a lot of health, a lot of police, because the educated Sims are helping you out in that regard. So we've got the education panel open. When you start a new city in a new region, what you have available to you is a grade school. From there, you have to unlock the other schools. So, in order to get a high school, you need a Department of Education in the region. In order to get to the community college, you have to reach a certain number, you have to teach a certain number of students in the grade school in order to unlock the community college. And then to get to the university, once again, you need a Department of Education in the region. Once it's placed in the region, then you can put a university anywhere. Same with the high school. So let's talk about our buildings that are part of our education and or tech level. Over here, these three buildings, your library, grade school, and high school, have an influence, a positive influence on education only. These buildings do not and will not influence tech level. Your library, I look at a library as two things. It can serve as a medium wealth park, so people will get happiness, but people that visit the public library will also come away with education. The first education building that is unlocked in a new city, in a new region, is your grade school. Your grade school comes with a school bus. The students that attend a grade school will have to be picked up by a school bus unless they live in very close proximity to the grade school. So you're going to need to put down school bus stops. The high school, once again, you're going to need school buses, you're going to need school bus stops. Students will walk to high school if it's in close proximity, but the majority of your students, just like with the grade school, are going to need to be picked up with a school bus. It's important to remember these three buildings do not have any influence on tech level, but these buildings will influence education levels all the way up to the maximum amount. In order to influence tech level, you would need to move up to either a community college or a university. A community college is extremely similar to a high school in its benefits. The difference is community college also has an influence on tech level. You do not need a school bus. Your people will get themselves to school. That is a big difference when you're talking about grade school and high school. It is your responsibility to get the majority of the students to school. Once we move to community college and university, the students are now getting themselves to school in that they will primarily drive, but you do want to put down a bus stop in front of your community college because they will also take mass transit to get to a community college. Your university is a step up from the community college in that it teaches more students and it can get your buildings up to a higher tech level. A community college, the best it can do is on a three level, on three tech levels. So an industrial building can be tech level one, two, or three. A community college, its maximum for an industrial building is tech level two. A university, the maximum is tech level three. So you're going to have the opportunity to get your industrial buildings up to a higher tech level. And because this is a university, you can do research projects in order to unlock certain things to add on to your existing buildings. So unlock things for fire, health, police, unlock things for your great works. All of those are now possible with the university. Just like the community college, it is now your students' responsibility to get themselves to university. They will drive and they will also take mass transit. If you have access to the VU Tower, the VU Tower has zero influence on education. However, the VU Tower does have influence on tech level. Placing the VU Tower can get your industrial buildings up to tech level 3. The only thing to keep in mind is the VU Tower will create an increase in criminal activity in your city. So let's recap because I think it's important. These three buildings have an influence on education and education only. These buildings, community college and university, have an influence on education and tech level, and the VU Tower has an influence only on tech level. Also keep in mind, the simulation does not progress students through the different levels. So if you are placing a grade school and a high school and community college or university, thinking that the simulation has students graduate from grade school, go to high school, graduate from high school, and go to community college or university, the simulation does not work that way. The simulation solely recognizes that there are students that need to go to school. So you can satisfy all student needs with a community college, or you could satisfy all student needs with a university, or you could satisfy all student needs from an education standpoint with a grade school. So if you have a grade school that's maxed out, a high school that's maxed out in your city, a community college, and a university in your city, thinking that you are helping to progress students through the different levels, it is possible that you are paying thousands of simoleons an hour unnecessarily. If you're doing this because it's fun and you just like the looks of it, that's one thing. But if you have a grade school, a high school, a community college, and a university placed in your city because you think that students are going to go to grade school, graduate and go to high school, then graduate and go to college. That is not how this simulation works. So let's talk about how education works. The best way that I can explain this is to go back to talking about the overall way that happiness works, and I call it the happiness loop. When you think about the city as a whole, every morning your workers, the individuals that are looking for jobs, looking to work, they're going to get up, they are going to attempt to get to work either at an industrial area or commercial. They're going to work a shift, they're going to collect a paycheck, and then they are going to attempt to get home. On the way home, they will stop at a park or they will stop at a store, a commercial location. They will do some shopping or they will play in a park and then they will go home. If they can do that in one game day, then they are happy. I call that the happiness loop. Treat education similarly. And part of that happiness is, are the students coming home happy? So let's talk about the happiness portion of this when it pertains to education. Every morning, those students, and it's important to look at this and look at the fact that the simulation divides it up. You've got residents, you've got workers, you've got students. They are not the same individual. Workers do not carry education with them to an industrial area, and we'll talk more about that shortly. In the morning, starting at 6 a.m., your eligible students are going to attempt to get from their home to a school. If at the end of the day they have gotten their education and they're going to attempt to get home, if that attempt to get home is successful, then that is part of what you would consider the happiness when it comes to education. So they will return home as educated, this green bar, and they will bring education points to a household. So this is more for the home. The house will turn green because they have brought education points to the home. The house will develop solar panels. People will not commit as many crimes. They won't get as sick as often, and on and on and on. If you were to take away the schools, these benefits would start to diminish. So think of it as if they're depositing into a bank. But this is a process that has to continue on because at 6 a.m., all of these green, educated, enrolled students are going to become unenrolled, and you're starting the process over. There, you see that? 6 a.m., and now let's pause. Or we can let it run. Suddenly, we went from green to purple. We now have uneducated students who are trying to go to school. And as they are making their way to school successfully, those purple bars disappear because they are making it to school in a successful manner. At the end of this day, when they go home, they will be represented once again as green, enrolled students who are delivering their education points back to a household. As you can see, some of them are walking, but you've got a good number of them driving to school. If we were to shut down the schools over time, these households would use up and lose their education points, and they would start to go from green back to a non-color, indicating that the household is not educated. So education is more geared towards benefiting the household and the city. You notice I've not said anything about industry. That's next. So let's switch from education and now let's go to tech level. What tech level is, it is how technologically advanced your industrial area is. You cannot get tech level from grade school or high school. Tech level only comes from a community college or a university. The tech level does not come from the workers bringing education with them to the industrial area. So, why is having high tech buildings in your industrial area important? As far as the city is concerned, they create less pollution. As far as you're concerned, high tech buildings are going to pay more in taxes. So it's beneficial for you as a mayor because you're going to get higher tax revenue from your industrial area. So, how does tech level work? The best way that I can describe it is now when we were talking about education, I was comparing that education loop to the happiness loop. Let's do this. You're going to think, what are you doing? Why are we talking about electricity? But this is the best way that I can explain it. I'm going to turn off my oil power plant. So as you can see, power is flowing through the streets out towards the buildings. I have turned off my power plant. Over time, this yellow line is going to start to get weaker and weaker, and it's actually going to start to turn a shade of orange. As the influence from this power plant gets weaker and weaker, we're going to lose electricity. Starting to change color, starting to go a little bit orange. It hasn't happened out here yet, but it's starting. So it's not immediate, it's a gradual change where we are losing electricity. Now I need to hire somebody. Hopefully that happens quickly. There. Now we're powering up. Electricity is flowing back through my city. It's taking longer to get out here because that's further away. A community college and a university, the more students that can get to a community college, the more students that can get to a university successfully and go through the education process, the more they create what we call tech level. Tech level starts to flow from the community college out. So the community college does not have to be right next to the industrial area. It helps. But just the way we watched electricity flow from the power plant is the same way you would see the tech level flow out from and start to affect the industry. The electricity affects everything. The tech level affects the industrial area. It is nighttime. Our tech level, because nobody is in school, is starting to drop off just a bit. We will see some of these green bars start to dip because no one is in school powering, if you will, the technology. So it was building up in the buildings, just like a deposit of technology points, just like the education points in a home. But over time, it's starting to dip. So this is our technology loop. Now that we've got kids, students back in school, as they fill in the schools, and as we successfully get a good number of students, and now see our green bars kind of spiked up a bit. Throughout this day, we need to refill the tech level. There, now it's starting to really, we've got a couple of buildings here, but at the end of this day, we will be back to where we need to be there. Now we're starting to get really good tech level. Look at that. Now we're climbing. We have a couple of buildings here. We need more students. We need a more powerful tech boost to get some of these buildings. But now, if you look, what had started to degrade is now going back up as green. If you come away with this thinking, oh, so traffic, transportation is really important. Exactly. Just like with a lot of other concepts, your traffic is critical to getting your students to school, whether it's a grade school, high school, community college, or a university. So when do you use the certain buildings? If you watch me play, 99.9% of the time, I'm using a community college. It's rare, if ever, that you'll see me use a grade school or a high school. If I need to do research, I would do a university, and you've yet to see me use VU Tower. If it's about cost, the reason why I use the community college is you will see that you get the biggest bang for your buck with the community college in just a sheer number of individuals that you can teach. If you are running into traffic issues, you can do a community college, but you can also do a high school and let your school buses go and pick up some of the students in areas where you're having trouble with them getting to school due to traffic. For example, I've got a community college here. I've got a community college here. Let's pretend that this community college is not there. And let's also pretend that we're having significant traffic issues and we're seeing lots of unenrolled students here. A, a potential option would be to put a high school here and some bus stops, not not mass transit bus stops, but education school bus stops. Put those in the areas in which your students are having trouble getting themselves to a community college. That is one option that you can take. Keep in mind, your students are going to wait at a school bus stop for 2 hours or up to 2 hours. If a school bus has not picked them up in that 2 hour time frame, they'll go home. So, but that's just one way of kind of working with the system. But I wanted to spend some time trying to talk about education and tech level, trying to clear up the differences between education and tech level, and to talk about the importance of education and tech level. This is one of those subjects where I'm sure there's going to be some questions, some comments. I'm happy to help out. I'm sure that as I think about it, there's going to be something else that I think of that I want to add. If so, there will be a part two. There may be a part three, but I really wanted to try to talk about these two, what they do, and the differences between them. So I really hope this helps. Enjoy the game, have fun. If I need to do additional sessions on this, or if you have questions, just say so.